Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Hyrule Chronicles, Legend of Zelda D&D campaign. I am ArticulateT, and with me today, as always, I have playing Renji Vox, TheNetherlad.
I just took a bite out of my food. Hello!
Playing Hikan Sio, I have Alvarance.
That's why you eat before you play D&D. No, I'm kidding.
We hadn't started yet, so I didn't know I was going to be first. But okay.
You're always first.
I'm not always first. Not
You've always
first,
been
like-
first since Steve left.
That's so. Yeah. Press F.
Playing Ziden Shari, I have Robo Pirate.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm not eating.
Ah. And finally, playing Max, I have Keystria.
I am also here. Hello.
Hello. So, what happened last time, friends?
So, last time, after we tried to scare Bruno straight, we went to go get some sleep because we'd done a lot of investigating and everything else that day. So we went to go see Thicket, and Hikan does what Hikan does best, which is, oh, no one's tried that before? Let me buy that expensive alcohol. And then we sat and we watched shadows pass by in the mist for a little bit, and we decided to bunk up and take watches because, man, this mist is scary. And after hearing some somber Zora tunes and some a scream that was actually heard by Mara during her shift, we decided to take various paths all the way down. Renji using a spell slot, Hikan using a monk ability, and Max and Ziden just kind of teleporting due to whatever reason, down into the streets to run and follow the sounds of the scream. They heard plodding footsteps, and Hikan tracked them to a market-ish area, kind of like a little farmer's market looking thing. In which case, a battle broke out where between the party and these squid-looking masked figures. Well, we figured out that they were masked later. They had iron claws, kept attacking us. These iron claws were coated in a poison, which everyone but Max experienced at least a little bit of. And Hikan, when his brilliant thing, after trying the alcohol that had a numbing thing and the poison being based on pain, decided to play doctor in the middle of battle and poured some of it onto his wound, which stung like hell. But it was effective, and so it was a good day all around. After having one of the bodies remaining, they decided to shove it into the handy haversack, along with all of its equipment to go take to the mayor in the morning. We have no idea how that's going out. After we get back, we have a brief little chuckle with Thicket because Hikan was like, oh yeah, no, it totally worked last night after we went down into the dangerous mists where we probably shouldn't have gone. And yeah, that was about it. We woke up and we're getting ready to head out.
Okay. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up entirely. And so, we rejoin our heroes back into the campaign as they have just been speaking with Thicket and have enjoyed a pleasant breakfast where plans are to be made for the sake of continuing their investigations. Looking outside the window on this day, you find that it is indeed a rather pleasant day, all things considered. There's no sign that the fog has left any form of bad weather. And as you kind of finish preparations, you see people going about their business, almost in like this practice routine by this point. Fully aware of the dangers that are the night, but since it's morning and they have been alive long enough to see the morning, well, might as well just get on with it.
All right. Oh no.
Yeah,
Okay.
The music,
It's like the music stopped for a bit. Okay.
It's doing that thing of like zero, like it's showing the waveform, but it's saying that the timestamp is 0 of 0 seconds. So it's
Yay.
Huh.
yeah. what fun. Fun adventures with slow internet.
Mhm.
Technical difficulties all around.
Yeah. There we go. Okay.
So, we should probably get, like, Major Turner to see the, corpse soon, or at least get her to get us to someone who does that for the city. I don't really want to go up in her face and just show her a dead body without prior notification and consent.
Hey kids, want to see a dead body?
No!
I just don't think it would be a good idea after our previous meeting.
Should we maybe go to the guards instead then?
I think we should still give her a heads up at least to, like, give her more of a heads up, like, hey, we are not, like, trying to interfere with your stuff. If you want us to stop, we should, because this is kind of still her city, but...
What if we go to the guards and we tell them to go ask for the mayor, because the people that are investigating the mist have an update that they think everyone needs to see. Then we just wait with the guards, opposed to running around all day.
That seems... Wait, Hikan,
Yeah?
why are you saying such a wise thing?
Because, like, I'm not smart, but I do think about things.
Noted.
And it's not because I have a wisdom score of 17.
That's
Common
it.
sense doesn't require reading books, I guess.
No, it doesn't. Just... I was surprised. Shouldn't be. I was.
Should get moving then.
What else do we want to do? Because, well, these
Well-
squid face people definitely have, well, squid mask people definitely have a connection to the North Star.
I think I determined that one of them was carrying the matching side to that amulet, so if you want to track them down, you can try tracking the amulet again. Or pendant.
Good
Or
idea.
we could track a mask. Assume you're kind of the
Also an
same.
option.
But above game, I think that doing this would be better first, because both of the things that I suggested or thought we're doing, one would probably be better with clearance from the mayor, and the other would be finding Tide's sister, assuming that she's not with these people.
Oh, she's totally with these people.
Probably, but that's not like Hikan can hope. Hikan's going to be naive.
That's not very wise of you.
It's the exact opposite of wise. Anyway,
It's hopeful.
Since when is seeing the good in people a bad thing?
the term
not
that
saying-
went
I'm
around
not
the
saying that.
monastery was hopefully optimistic. Or woefully optimistic. I thought it was hopeful. It might have been woeful. I don't know. I don't remember.
Let's not spend our time discussing semantics.
That's a big word.
Sorry.
It's only 3 syllables.
So, yeah.
I'm just gonna stand up and walk out the building now.
I was about
Here
to
we
say,
go!
I suppose we go to a guard to figure out where a guard station is.
Okay.
Or
So, let's see. I shall use this. Okay, I was gonna say, I'm gonna use my new passive scores Excel sheet, because I don't think investigating to find a guard requires a roll. And two of you have substantial enough investigation to effectively, as you exit the building, you see the busy people around. You do notice that you do find at least 2 guards, one of which is standing on a corner, but another one is like, well, they're not running full pelt, but they're effectively marathon jogging past them and heading down another street. It does seem to be in a bit of a hurry.
So I bet.
It was. I kind of want to follow him, but I don't know if I'm supposed to.
You could help if it's something dangerous.
You're right.
No.
Well, if anything, there's another guard in the same direction, so.
I mean, like, if he's light jogging, I'll just power walk and keep up with him.
Okay, so what's the plan? You following the running guard, or are you going to go to the idle guard?
Let's follow the running guard.
Khan's following the running guard.
Oh dear.
I guess I'm following Hikan.
There's action. Something's happening. Go, go, go.
What's going on? Can I help?
How are you? Never mind. I gotta get to the there. like as you're kind of like casually keeping pace. I'm remembering a comic panel of like a race between Superboy and the Flash, where Superboy's running as hard as he possibly can, and Flash is just like running backwards next to him with a towel and a toothbrush. It's just.
I casually pull out my water skin so he can have a drink since he seems winded.
I mean, we were going to check with the mayor one way or another.
Is everything okay? You seem a bit out of breath. I don't know where over there is, so otherwise I'd do it for you.
He kind of if you still offer him the water skin, he gladly takes it, and thankfully rolls high enough to not accidentally choke on the water mid-sprint. But as he kind of passes,
That would have been a low DC.
It was a 5. It was a 5, and he rolled a natural 9. It's fine. So he kind of gulps it down. It's like, there's been another one of those ship robberies last night. I have to keep the mayor informed.
Where exactly?
And it's gotten to the point now where he's like, the distance between you and the port is actually quite a fair amount of distance, and despite him being employed to be city guard, it's quite clear that at least this one in particular has not been keeping up with his cardio training, so he's now degraded from a marathon jog to kind of like, I think Peter Kay describes it as that dad run, where you're putting in double the effort, but you're not actually moving any faster than walking at a normal pace.
Just take it
How
easy.
far is he from the mayor's place?
At the current distance from where you remember, it's not going to be another. It'll be like a 2-minute walk from where you currently are. Like, it's down a couple more streets.
Oh.
Just sitting here waiting for Ziden to offer him a good ferry.
I have a better idea. I'm going to say, would you like a hand?
He just kind of eventually stops and just catches his breath.
Cast Longstrider on him.
This is my 10 feet until the spell ends. Awesome. He takes it.
Every step becomes easier now.
Yeah. So he takes a bit, but to kind of catch his breath, and he says, thank you, because he hasn't moved yet, so he doesn't know exactly what happens. But as he looks to you, Renji, he says, it's a couple of the galleons that have been in port for at least half a day. Seem to have had the side of them broken open and most of their cargo stolen. Oh, Jesus.
Whose boats were they?
And eventually he does stand up straight and says, well, one of them belonged to the Fairwind Trading Company, and another one was a ship for the Zephyr's Favour. They were the one from the Zephyr's Favour was actually emptied, sadly, but the one looks a bit at the very least. But the other one, the Fairwind one, has got a fair few things stolen, but not all of it's gone. They must have hit the Zephyr's one first, I think.
So, all these. Hold on. So we encountered some thieves, I believe, last night, hurrying through the mist. Also, DM, out of character, would the path that we think the squid face masks went, do you think like were they parallel, or do you think they went to the do we think they went to the harbor or from the harbor?
The one you were tracking with your curse was heading northwards, which was not in the direction of the harbor. As for the other ones, they kind of vanished from sight, so you don't know if they went in the same direction or all scattered in different directions.
Then there's probably nothing Renji would immediately say out of that.
But in response, he just kind of says, or at least before I continue, most of you will probably remember that ship thievery was part of the described activities that had been happening. So this isn't the first time this sort of thing has happened. But yeah, it's something like that. And as the guy finally manages eventually to catch his breath, he just takes in a big airful. Well, and then he kind of looks at each of you and is like, wait, hold on, why do you want to know? This is Gaul business.
We kind of. You can ask me, Turner. Turner, just she knows us.
We've also been investigating the thing.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm guessing we go in. Yeah. Well, I need to go make her aware of this thing.
Yes. When you do, we encountered some bandits this night.
This night.
And yes.
Why were you not indoors? It's dangerous outside.
Yeah, we heard something.
One of us heard a scream.
We went to investigate. We found a couple of, people, one of which was a Zora wearing squid mask. Who has a mask right now?
Hikan moves his left arm over and kind of shows off the giant gash that was in it from the fight. He's like, it wasn't too bad.
After a bit of a pause, Max remembers that both the mask and corpse are in his bag, and he's like, oh shit, hang on.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And I help Max get the mask.
I'm not pulling the corpse out, just the mask.
Yeah.
They pull out the mask and
Yeah,
say,
this.
What?
Looks familiar. Or
Well,
The burn mark isn't supposed to be there. That was me.
to be honest, no one's really seen him in this. You're saying you got this from something last night?
someone specifically.
It's the Azora with weird magic tattoos on it.
We could, since you're a bit busy, where would we find the guard in charge of this stuff? So that way we can talk to him, or her, or them.
Well, Guard Captain Rundus is currently handling the investigation of the ships right now, so he's currently at port, but he'll be in the local guardhouse, I don't know, by midday today. Usually he has to come back and fill out some paperwork and stuff. Especially with this sort of thing, he has to keep an eye on the inventory and see if there's any connection between all of them.
Is there a morgue somewhere around?
A morgue? Well, we do have. I think we do have a morgue somewhere. I don't really know where it is. Most people who die in Sarkozy usually die out at sea, so we don't really have a body to bring back. But yeah, if you head over here and he provides you with some directions to a building which is in the lower side of town. He describes it as a brick building which looks like it hasn't been painted or properly decorated in probably about 2 years. And he says, there's a bunch of buildings over there that have a similar kind of thing. If you find a big red brick building, then don't bother with that one, at least if you're not in the mood for shopping for anything. But in regards to the morgue and medical centre, that's probably where you want to go.
All right. Does anyone else want to say or want to ask anything or mention anything? Because otherwise I think it would be a good idea for this fine guard. I'm sorry, I haven't even asked your name.
Oh, my name is Hankins. God Hankins, sir. Spelled with an A.
Hankins. Thank you for your service. Could you ask or could you tell the mayor that we're headed to the morgue because of this altercation we've had last night? If she wishes to send a runner, we would be happy to discuss the details or anything we do not wish to impede, but rather assist in this investigation.
Right. Okay. I will do that. Sure. By all means, sorry. It's just.
It's a lot, I understand. But we do thank you for your service, and I think we'll let you be on your way.
Thank you. You take care. Hopefully we'll get to the bottom of this. Right. And he takes one step forward and is immediately surprised by how fast he's going now because of Longstride. What the fuck? Like you peer off in the distance, it looks like he has to stop and then like wheel back a bit because he might have missed the street he should have gone down. But yeah.
He'll attack.
He has at least another 50 minutes.
He'll figure it out.
Oh dear. Okay. So you have been provided with appropriate directions to the town morgue and maybe other aspects.
I think it's time we put our, belated friend on ice.
Why would we want to put him on ice? We want the mayor to see him.
I just want to get him out of my bag.
Well, yeah, he can't stay in the bag of holding forever.
Mm.
Okay. And, yeah. So, heading straight to the morgue, or are you going to take care of anything else before you go?
We should probably swing by the boats and try and go look at that crime scene.
I think it was the brass bell. It's 2 crime scenes in a row where they're not affected, and they're all right there.
Weren't they out at sea, or am I misremembering?
Well, the sailors that we ended up having to throw out were brass bell sailors. I remember that.
I suppose we could probably speak to some of the other trading companies in town at some point, see if they know anything. We've only really spoken to Mr. Fairwind.
Yeah, we have, and I believe that's somewhat one-sided.
Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna do that first then?
Okay.
A plan.
Sorry, repeat that. You were really quiet.
So that sounds like a plan.
Okay. So, you guys make your way towards the morgue, swinging by the port on your way in order to see if you can take a gander at the crime scenes themselves. As you get closer to the port, you can see that there is a significant amount of, significantly crowded in this area. You see 2 galleons, both of relatively similar design, though one appears to be kind of adorned with this rather brilliant sort of wood carving where it looks like a gust of wind is sort of sweeping across the bow of the ship, and the other one just looks fairly kind of basic, to be honest. Looks very utility as opposed to anything else. In the sides of the ships, both of them, surprisingly enough, there appears to be a large hole just on the lower deck. So that seems to be around about, from your estimate, about 4 feet in diameter, and it looks like something has very roughly smacked into the side of it. You can see a chorus of guards moving up and down and speaking to sailors who are all just kind of talking rather frankly. They all have their own opinions on the guards at this point. You see one guard who is he's a little bit shorter than the others, but he's the only one with a cape, so you can only assume that this is probably Captain Rundus. And he's kind of just occasionally stopping in his conversation with a couple of individuals to give orders to passing guards as they wander by and continue their own investigations into the matter. And yeah.
Should we go talk to the captain then?
Might as well. We'll involve some of the head guards.
Yay. Okay.
Okay. So as you approach, the captain is kind of finishing his conversation with these 2 individuals and says, "Okay, I shall see you later." Okay. And he turns to you and says, "Oh, hello. I am Captain Rundus. How can I help you?"
We heard there was a break-in last night.
Ah, yes. One of many, as it seems.
We've heard, yes.
Before I continue, could I ask possibly who you might be? I do not
Of
wish
course
to
you may
be
ask.
sharing confidential information with individuals that I am not familiar with.
I understand. My name is Renji Vox. I and my companions here are on mission from the castle to investigate, and well, the last few events of within the city, the mists, the break-ins, the deaths. They are of investigation, of note to us.
Well,
We also talked to the mayor lady and asked her if we could help with that.
I spoke to Tonya.
And as
Okay.
such, yes.
Well, that is good to know. And it is good to see that there are good individuals that are helping our cause, at least solving these hideous events. Well, if that is the case, I shall provide you with as much information as I am capable of providing. And he kind of turns to regard each of the ships and indicates the less impressively designed one. And he says, that one, it belongs to the Fairwind Trading Company, and that one belongs to Zephyr's Favor. They are both were sabotaged, and seemingly their cargo was stolen in the dead of night.
One of the guards mentioned that the Fairwind ship was hit less hard. Was he correct?
Indeed, it was. He mentioned it was. Excuse me.
Gesundheit.
We had checked the shipping manifest. It appears that most of what has been stolen has been primarily magical trinkets that have come from across the sea. Checking the manifest, it seems that the Zephyr's Favor has been hit the hardest in this fashion. Primarily because most of its cargo seem to be magical trinkets, at least when checking the manifest itself. There have been other non-magical items that have been stolen, but mostly it has been gold taken from the coffers and possibly some gemstones and curiosities that are not magical but are otherwise of high value. Baubles for the rich and famous, no?
Anything else? Any details that may have come up in the course of the investigation so far?
Well, it appears that the damage mostly that has been hit with the ship, and he kind of points to the holes in the side of one of the ships that you can see. It appears that, judging by the debris that has been strewn about the deck of the ship, it seems that the actual strike that it was it occurred on the outside. So something from the outside hit it with enough force to shatter the wood and allowed entry to the ship.
Also, can I, from sight, can I see if the Zephyr's Favor ship, is there a difference in the holes of the Zephyr's Favor and the Fairwind ship?
The holes. So like
specifically, Does it seem like the hole in the Fairwind ship would be easier to repair?
Make a perception check.
Perception! 25.
25.
Very nice.
I
Roughly.
love my perception.
Both of the holes that have occurred in the ship aren't necessarily in the exact same spots. But in both cases, neither of them appear to be in a advantageous position. Like, in an instance, the actual damage, or the hole, appears to be at least 7 feet off the ground. So that would mean that whoever did it had to have enough strength to have like a proper over-the-top overhead swing if they were to do it on foot with an implement, and even then, they'd have to be pretty big and beefy. They are also at least 10 feet away from the designated point where the ramp would be to get onto the ship by the upper deck.
Right.
So, the one thing you do note in the area is that the way the docks are laid out in certain cases, like most of it, like the way the docks are laid out is that you have these pontoons that go out towards the ocean, where these galleons in particular kind of reside next to. So the actual it's kind of like as if they've somehow reversed the ship into the area. So the back end of the ship is facing towards dry land, and then next to it runs up this pontoon, this dock. On the opposite side of the pontoon is water, and this is the same story for the Zephyr's Favor. There are some ships that are docked like fully side on to dry land, but these ones in particular have the backs onto dry land with the pontoons out. So you can only assume that if it was to see something of an equal height, that means that there would have to be possibly another ship in those docks, or possibly they would have had to have taken some boxes, stacked them, did the damage, then moved all the boxes in the progress of stealing whatever it is they needed. But yeah, it's a bit weird.
Yeah,
Does
I'm. Oh,
sorry.
yes.
Does it look like magic was used?
Truthfully, we do not have a designated magic user to do any of that investigation. So we are.
Hikan Will Smith poses at the rest of the party.
We have a lot of magic.
Oh, well, if you are capable of the arcane, then by all means, I shall. It will be allowed for you to do the investigations that you need.
Now we can get a closer look.
Thank you. We can now pass by the NPC.
Yeah.
When you have a moment after we're done taking a look around as well, I think there is something that they want to talk to you about, but I'm not the best with words.
Okay. That is good to know. I shall not be leaving here for a significant amount of time, so I will probably still be here when you are done. Feel free to come and find me when you are finished with your own investigations.
Okay, thank you. And then I rush forward to the rest of the party.
So as you head up, that was me panicking to think of an accent and went with French and probably botched it like mad. So
I actually thought it was kind of like that's the captain of the guard, correct?
yeah.
Or okay, because I wanted to immediately like Inspector Poirot. I was presume.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But
yeah.
I decided against it.
The only reason why I think I'm capable of doing it is because recently, on the radio, listening to the radio on the way into work, we've had a lot of Renault adverts come on, and there's a woman with a French accent. So it's like, if I just listen to this advert occasionally, I will pick up on the intonations and things that could work. But yeah.
The one time that
French.
the one time that advertising is being useful.
Yeah. But yes. So, which ship are you going to inspect first?
I would like to inspect the Fairwind ship first, because I have a pet theory which I've been trying to either prove or debunk.
Okay.
Let's do that one then.
Okay. So you head over to the Fairwind Trading Company's ship. Heading up the ramp, you see that there are still guards, kind of just asking questions of shipmates on board. As some guards try and look you over, they are immediately convinced when you say Captain Runda said it was okay. The actual hole in the ship is down one deck. So as you kind of get there, you see it is rather dark in here, but the light from the outside is pouring in, and you have this fairly sizable amount of space where the hole has been made. It seems that the guards have wanted to keep it clear.
So, as one of the more physically adept members of the party, and knowing my particular set of skills, I would actually like to stay on the dock and see how easy it would be to get in from the docks into the hole.
Okay.
So, like, because you said that I needed to have a pretty big overhand swing because it was 7 feet off or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. So while you do that, what are the others doing?
I would like to speak to some of the people on the ship to, who knew where the ship's manifest was, how many people knew about, the cargo, that sort of thing.
Okay. So you go and speak to some of the other sailors. What about Max and Ziden? What's your thinking?
I'm gonna go look at the actual crime scene bit where all the stuff was taken.
Okay.
What was,
And the big hole in the wall.
Hikan doing again?
Generally, I'm kind of testing how easy it would be for regular people to get in and out of the ship. So I'm literally running in and out of the hole from the dock.
I was gonna, I guess, inspect the hole and sort of work out how they made it.
Okay. All right. So we will start with Hikan. So as you kind of stand out there, you see that the hole is 7 feet up. As mentioned, there's no boxes nearby, and as you kind of look around slightly, you do see little bits of debris of wood, but it's relatively small by comparison to most things. It is quite a distance away from the nearest ramp, and there aren't any cannon portholes on the ship. Or at least on this deck, and there aren't any that are close enough for you to kind of get a foothold to slide up, as it were. It appears that the actual ship itself or the hole itself would require a lot of, for the size of the hole, it would require several repeated strikes with a heavy weapon of some kind, or alternatively, it would require one large strike from a large thing, but you're not sure what that might be.
Hikan narrows his eyes and goes, Bruno, wait, we took his gauntlets. Okay, so given that I am a regular, you said that there are little bits there, and I know that Zide will go into further detail on this particular part, but does it look like it was broken inwards or outwards? So,
Make a investigation check.
yeah, -2. 7.
7. It's hard to tell. The splintering of the wood is, the way the wood is splintered, it's difficult to tell at this point. It might just be the way that the ship is designed, but you'd feel like maybe it would be inwards.
Okay. And is it right next to the dock, or is it like a few feet outward?
It's right, like there is a clearance of about 3 feet between the ship and the dock itself.
So after sitting there and pondering it for a moment, and the classic, L-shaped fingers around the chin thing for a little bit, taking a look around at all the scenery that you've described, Hikan nods a couple of times and then just runs and tries to jump in the hole.
Okay. Make an acrobatics check with advantage, because you're pretty good at this. 23.
23.
Yeah. You just kind of... And like in a smooth motion, just kind of dive through the hole and roll expertly in the deck side, and you just see Hikan just appear, like dive through and just land safely on the inside.
Ziden just sort of blinks for a few seconds, then nods and continues looking.
Okay. Speaking of, since that's a nice transition, Ziden, since you are inspecting the hole, make an investigation check.
I shall ask the spirits for guidance.
As always.
For a 23.
Okay. As you look around, you pretty much confirm that whatever it is that broke in through this hole did so, like, the damage was done from the outside going in. You can see significantly larger amounts of wood splinterings that are kind of strewn all over the floor. One thing that does particularly tick your interest is that a large portion of this kind of area is wet. Like, there's still signs that the wood in this area is damp, as if something is kind of like, I don't know, someone spilt a bucket or two. And as you kind of examine it, you see that there's like, you see there might be some indications of a struggle of some kind. Like, the way that the wood is splintered, it doesn't seem uniform. There's almost something like has shifted it slightly. And you can see that there are a couple of things around that are pushed over a little ways from the hole. And the wetness kind of extends itself to those areas.
So, presumably it was Zora's sort of jumping out from water then? Dragged all this much water around. I guess I'll go and inspect over these things that have been moved.
Okay. You inspect the things that have been moved. They're mainly barrels and crates. You kind of take a peek inside. One of them appears to be a crate full of lemons, and another one appears to be kind of just like a barrel full of what appears to be salt.
More just in the way than targets, I guess.
Certainly seems that like it.
Alright, Ziden will note his findings to take to the others.
Okay. Max. So you were aiming to have a look and see if you could find other bits of the crime scene, like where other things might have been stolen from.
Looking at that, and also for traces of any kind of magic.
Okay. So as you kind of make your way down to the main cargo hold, make an Arcana check for me. Nice.
23, correct?
Natural 20, 23. As you kind of maneuver around, you have a little look and see if you can sense anything magical. And looking at it, you see that there are maybe one or two things that indicate as such. But the weird thing is, not all of it comes from the hole, and it doesn't look like it's anything that comes from the inside. You see these weird warpings on the wood, where something might have touched it that has caused it to rapidly age. In other places, you find what appears to be droplets of this red sparkling liquid that are just kind of on the floor, and it's not like someone's dropped a whole thing. It just looks like little drips and drabs, as if someone spilt something slightly. And this kind of pattern of oddness follows its way down to the cargo hold, where you see undisturbed is a variety of crates, some of which have been utterly torn open and their contents removed, just leaving this haphazard pile of straw in the center of the cargo hold. Others have been opened but not torn apart, and a lot of their contents also missing apart from the straw. And some others have been opened and they still have things in them. Looking inside, you see that there's mostly little golden statuettes or little tea sets that are made from ivory or obsidian and all that kind of stuff. Things that you can tell at a glance aren't exactly magical, but they do look very gaudy and probably sell for a lot.
Okay. I don't know what kind of check it would be to try and identify that red liquid.
I'd say make an Arcana check.
Another Arcana. This one's the complete opposite of the last one.
Oh.
Oof.
You kind of like dab your fingers in it and sit and try and see, try and smell. Can't really tell much. Mara might know, but otherwise.
I'll get like a sample of it to go tomorrow.
Okay.
And anything else? Any kind of like footprints or anything?
Make a survival check.
A 9.
9. I mean, I'm gonna say we'll operate at advantage because you've observed footprints like these before.
It's a 10.
That's a 10. And examining it, you kind of have a look around and see there are like these damp marks on the floor that are in a pattern similar to footprints, and they do appear to be of a similar shape to the ones that you found when hunting down the delinquents from last night. But otherwise, you don't find many. Like, most of it seems to be the most prominent near the actual hole itself, and then they start to fade away the further down the ship you get.
Okay. Well, I can go find Mara.
Okay. So while you go and find Mara, Renji, you see if you can speak to some of the sailors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You find like one or two of them that have just finished speaking to a guard. They kind of look at you as you come over, and they say, "Can we help you at all?"
Yes. I see you've been talking to all of my colleagues. I should introduce myself. Renji Vox of the Hyrule Castle. I was wondering if you could tell us something about what happened here, what was taken specifically. I was also quite interested to know if you had anything to help us figure out why exactly these ships were attacked.
Well, it's good to meet you. I'm Samson. I'm the boatswain. This here's my
Nice to meet you.
my mate. He's called Tommy, and Tommy just gives a wave.
Samson, Tommy, nice to meet you.
Says, right. Well, there's not much that we can say, really. Most of the time that we're docked here, we don't stay on the ship, so to speak. We're usually in town. The one person who usually stays on the ship, we typically have someone on guard duty. and sometimes the crow likes to sleep in the nest overnight because it's cheaper and cooler up there. But we spoke to the crow, and he said that he didn't see anything or hear anything. And the guard who was on duty said that he heard a crash of some kind. But when he went to investigate, he was blindsided by something and woke up the next morning with a ringing headache. So it's not really what we've got to go on. In regards to what was stolen and stuff, well, to be honest, while I try and do my best to keep this whole situation shipshape, the quartermaster Robertson, he should be probably more privy to the in and outs of what was actually in the hold.
And you're saying that that he heard this. This person, is he here? Is he in a hospital at the moment?
Tommy speaks and says, "Oh yeah, the guard, who was on guard duty today?" And so, I think it was Roderick. And so, "Oh yeah, Roderick. Roderick, he's been carted off to the medical centre, primarily dealing with, the doctor says it was a concussion, but he had a pretty severe bruise on the back of his head. Really easy to see that. He shaves his head on a regular basis. But yeah, he just woke up, had a ringing headache. That was after apparently going to investigate what the noise was, and then he just fell down and was out of it."
Right, so he wasn't questioned by anyone yet. Yeah.
I don't believe so. If they have done, we haven't seen him do it.
It would be interesting to know just where exactly he heard the noise coming from.
Oh, yeah. By all means. I'm sure Robertson will be able to. Or Roderick. There we go. Yeah, Roderick. So many names. It's just like so many people and shit. I'm sure he'll be able to tell you exactly what you need to know. And the boatswain.
Was one? Sorry, I think I cut off there.
Yeah, you cut out a little bit, but go ahead.
Right. I was wondering if who had knowledge of the ship's manifest, if that's usually kept secret or if that's more common knowledge.
Oh well, typically that duty falls to the captain, the quartermaster, the first, second, and third mate, and in a pinch, me. Usually the actual manifest is always typically kept in the captain's quarters, among with other important documents.
And the captain, who might that be, and where is this captain at the moment?
Well, since the incident, Captain Lockwood is currently talking with Mr. Fairwind up in his little company house at the moment. I mean, considering the circumstances, I don't think they'd object to people going and speaking to him.
I'm sure that's something to be considered after we've done our investigation here. That is certainly something we'll consider.
Very well. Is there anything else that we can help you with, Mr. Vox?
Just wondering if there's anything unusual that you've noticed. I understand that it is an unusual situation with the mists and all, but anything, if there's anything you've heard, seen, if you have your own theories, we would love to hear them. Just
Tommy says, well, I don't really know much in regards to this. I mean, I think most of us have been, we've been out at sea for the past 3 months. We've only just come back from the Brenner, but the thing is that like we've only come back in and heard about this fog. The moment we pulled into port yesterday morning, we were asked to make sure that we got everything sorted with the Arbor Master, and then afterwards we were just told to be indoors before the sun went down. We didn't really question it. After all, most of us were probably going to go and get pissed at the local pub, but while we were there, we did see outside that it was very foggy, more so than we'd expected it to be. And then we kind of just arrived at the ship this morning after what had happened, and, well, here we are.
Well, thank you both, gentlemen. You've been very helpful, and if there's any other questions, where could we find you later on? Will you be staying here with the ship?
Well, it's like the boatswain like he looks over the side of the ship and at the hull, and just kind of like leans back and says, "Well, if I know our shipwright, he's probably going to say that this ship isn't going to be seaworthy for at least another week or so. So we're probably just stuck here for that amount of time. We'll probably be shacking up in the cheapest pub that we can, to be honest, which I think is that one." And he points, and you can see quite clearly the Crow's Lament just a little ways off. He says, "Yeah, we'll probably be there, and if not, we'll probably be just in and around town. Feel free to come and find us or any of the other members of the crew. I'm sure they'll be more than happy to help out."
Thank you very much.
He nods and...
yeah.
He nods and...
Was there anything that... Oh.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Was there anything in their stories that Renji would have got, like, that they're not telling me something or changing it up?
Make an insight check.
I'm not too good with these. 5.
I mean, as far as temperament goes, they seem fairly relaxed about it. It's mainly in a sense of, like, probably they've been questioned all morning by guards and they're just kind of falling into the routine. Alternatively, they might just be seeing this whole thing as hazards of the occupation, and they're just and perhaps they're just being so relaxed because at the very least it's not pirates out at sea where they have no ways to get help. But for the most part, their stories seem to add up from what Rundus has been saying about, which is that, or at least for the most part, something broke into the ship and stole a bunch of stuff. And it's like, you don't think they offered enough detail for you to properly pick out what could be the issue, other than the only new information that you have been given is that there was a guard on duty, or someone who was on guard duty, and they were knocked out.
Yeah. Right, I think I'm going to find the others and kind of share my lack of insights.
And Max, you do eventually find Mara. She's kind of just inspecting other bits as you go up to her and she says, "Oh, hey Max, what's up?"
I found this weird stuff on the floor. Couldn't really figure out what it was. Do you know anything? We'll hand over the red stuff.
She inspects it and gets a fairly decent number. So she says,
"Probably definitely more decent than mine."
Natural 19 plus a 7 in Arcana, so she's like, "I think this is a standard healing potion, or at least it looks like the mixture of it. It's kind of slightly red with this kind of sparkle in it. I guess where did you find it?"
Drops of it on the floor. Around near where the broken in stuff was.
Are they close enough for myself and or Ziden to hear?
Probably.
You can be, yeah.
Also, the wood looked weird, like it was too old.
Okay.
Wait, too old?
Yeah.
Which bit of wood?
It's down here. Come on.
Side,
I go point out the weird wood.
Okay. You find like
If Mara's still holding onto the healing potion, Hikan will reach into his pocket and pull out one of the ones that he bought from Sebastian as kind of a comparison.
Okay. You compare it, and they do appear to have a very similar appearance to them.
Yours is a bit brighter though.
Oh yeah, it's because it was made with love from Sebastian. Anyway.
Well, you're not wrong. But as you as you are led down to this bit of wood, Ziden, you find that an area of the banister on the stairs down to one of the lower decks appears to be warped and aged slightly, as if, like, while the rest of the banister is this finely varnished piece of wood, this one appears to be much older, like a dry sort of kindling almost. It just looks like a part of a tree that has grown so old it's on the verge of death. Yeah.
Would it be possible to try and relate it to the curse that was laid upon the king? Or the effect that was laid on the king to make him extra old?
Make an Arcana check, but with advantage.
Help me, spirits. For a 16.
16, nice. You kind of look and you think, it may be similar, to be honest. A part of you feels that maybe, like, not necessarily strictly a curse, because it's very difficult to kind of miscast a curse in such a small, localized area. If it was something like that, it probably would have decayed the entire banister almost, or even the whole flight of stairs. It's possible that maybe this might be some kind of either cursed item or possibly even a potion of aging, if such a thing were to exist, that has just been haphazardly spilt on the banister here, that has caused that part of the wood to just age rapidly to a point of brittleness.
Ziden will look for professional help from Mara to inspect it.
Okay. She is led downstairs to see this thing, and she'll make her roll.
Giving his impressions and findings.
She also has a pen. Yeah. She'll get advantage because you're kind of providing her with aid and things that you are aware of. And she says, it does kind of look like someone spilled some aging potion, I guess, but no one really uses aging potion. It's kind of the opposite of what people would like. Unless, of course, they were particularly young and wanted to be older for any particular reason. Yeah, at least that's my initial impressions. I can't think of anything else it might be.
Since I was with Mara, I will approach her just so I can speak in more of a hushed tone. It's like, do you know what happened to the king?
Yeah.
As in, how it happened?
Mr. Nihilus informed me of the details, yeah.
What if it was something like that? Not
If
necessarily
you say it
something
was a
good.
potion, then no.
Well, like, the point of... Not that Hikan would know that it was a specific spell, because I don't think anyone's told him, but...
Yeah.
But, like, the intent of aging someone to assassinate them, essentially.
Well, I mean, it's possible. I suppose if not necessarily for one's own use, but you could use it to possibly spike someone's food and age them that way.
Gotta let all the old people to know that they're safe. Ziden, or that they're in danger. Ziden, you're in danger.
Ziden will bonk him on the head with his quarterstaff.
Clunk.
I will let it happen.
While that's happening, I'm gonna like try and see if there's any more traces of errant bits of potion leading anywhere.
Okay, roll investigation.
It's a 9.
Other than the ones that you found, like you find a little more of them now that you know what you're looking for, but anything different, that's sadly,
I was more looking for a trail.
trail. Oh, and forgive me, make a survival check.
I can assist with that.
14.
Woo! Yeah, so now that you know what you're looking for, you follow a distinct trail that kind of leads from the cargo hold, and it does peter out a little bit before it gets to the hole, but it leads to that hole. Like when you kind of head outside and look at the dock, you find that a lot of it seems to kind of wash away slightly before you think it heads back into town.
Okay. Well, now you know where they went. Going back in and inform everyone of that.
So, from Sarkosa in comparison to where we were, the group that Renji was tracking with his hex went north from where we fought them.
Yeah.
The harbor is more northwest.
Kind of west-northwest.
West-northwest. Would this be more of a easternly direction then, like closer to?
Yes.
Kind of like trying to triangulate it, since I was helping Max with that survival check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are correct. It seems to be going in an easterly direction.
Interesting.
The people we ran into were laden down with stuff, and I don't think any of them had bags on them.
No, but it doesn't mean that there weren't many people. Many people. Like 12.
Or given the level of magical items they had, Ziden just pats his bag of holding.
I did say they didn't look like they had bags on them.
Not yet, no.
Bags of holding aren't particularly small.
That's true.
Yeah.
Is there someone down here looking around at the thing, or at the stuff, or has Renji come down yet? Or
I thought I was already with you guys.
Yeah.
oh, he was. Sorry.
That's
I
okay.
stepped away for a bit. My bad.
No worries.
Do we know about how big some of the like boxes or things of cargo was?
So the boxes of cargo range from being roughly 1 feet cubed to being 4 foot cubed in size. Those are the general sizes of boxes that are in the hold. Most of the magical item ones, or the ones that have been cleaned out and destroyed, range from about 2 to 3 feet in size, or cubed.
But they were cleaned out.
They were cleaned out.
I attempt to lift one of the boxes of the same size.
Okay. You pick it up. It is quite hefty. You estimate that it's probably about 45 pounds.
Not bad. Okay. Well, there goes that thought experiment. I was gonna try to jump out of the hole with somebody, but I think we all weigh more than how much these boxes weigh.
Should probably look at the other ship.
Yeah.
Okay. So you head on over to the other ship. To save some rolling, inspecting it for similarities, you find that much the same story has been accrued. It appears that something from the outside broke in. Similar massive wet patch on the floor, things pushed around. Heading down, you find that in the lower decks, practically everything has been ransacked down there. Most of the boxes are emptied and like strewn about the place. You see occasional little bits and pieces. You see what appears to be like more mundane items, and a couple of weapons actually just kind of lay strewn about that haven't been picked up, and only a small portion of the crates within the hold appear to be untouched. Otherwise, you do find that the differences are there aren't really any kind of leaking potions or errant magical effects that seem to be pulled or seem to be leading a trail out of the boat. So whatever they were carrying seemed to be at least very well self-contained. Otherwise it is more or less the same story. Is there anything you wanted particularly to investigate?
One thing I was wondering is the holes. Do they have like claw marks near them? Because the Zoras we encountered had long iron claws.
As you kind of inspect it with your passive perception of 15, you look at it and you can't find any claw marks. At least not claw marks that indicate that they made the hole. You do find a couple of them that seem to be clambering up the side of the boat.
Right. It pretty much confirms that they were definitely present.
But
The cheers.
there seems to be another way of entrance, or well, specifically the making the hole and then climbing in. Would there like Ziden already tried to figure out if there was anything magical about the entrance.
Yeah, it didn't appear to be at the very least.
Did something big just hit it?
Yeah. But I wonder what kind of big thing would just be able to do something like this. Have there been other, like, there's only been robberies of ships, correct?
There's only been robberies of ships. Yes.
And have we heard of like this same type of entry?
You may have to ask some of the guards for that.
I'll definitely try and find someone to ask that.
The captain!
Yeah, for instance. Inspector Clouseau.
So, yeah. So you're gonna go straight to the captain, or is there other things you want to do?
Like, I will definitely tell the rest. Like, I want to figure out if the other ships have been hit this way.
Sounds fair. Could ask him a couple questions, and if we wanted to include him, could invite him to the morgue.
That actually might be a good idea.
Take a look around just in case there's anything different. I don't really know what specifically, but just in case. In this crime scene.
Okay. That would be investigation.
It's a 2.
Ah.
I had my one good roll today.
You used up too much luck on it.
Yeah.
As you kind of scout around, other than the lack of
Max just said like, this is a big mess.
so, other than the lack of magical debris or magical trail, it appears that this is much the same as the other ship.
Yep. Jump back up with everyone else.
Okay. Alrighty. So if you head, or so if you're gonna go speak to the captain, he's still pretty much where you left him. Actually, he's currently been talking to other people, and he sees you come over, says, "Ah, hello. Welcome back. Is there anything that I can help you with?"
We had a bit of question and a bit of request.
Very well. What is the question?
Sorry, you got out there.
Oh, very well. What is the question that you wish to ask?
The question is, was this type of entry, the large hole in the hull, was this specifically used for the other break-ins?
Well, the first few, no. As the first day, the thefts were essentially done without breaking the ship, but after that, there was incidences like this. Almost all ships that were broken into had holes like this, except for certain smaller ships. Admittedly, the hole size is usually the same, so I would think that perhaps if the hole was made in the size of a sloop, then perhaps the ship would not be still buoyant, if that makes sense.
Right.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Does it seem to be pretty evenly spread out between the three trading companies?
Oh,
The attacks, that is?
no, to be honest. The Brass Bell has not been hit by any of these thefts. And it's, I would say, from personal opinion at this point, that the Zephyr's favor has been the worst hit.
Hikan just glares at the ships.
Yeah. I saw a trail of what looked like drops from a potion leading off the Farron ship into town. Might be something of a trail.
Perhaps that would be a good idea. I shall assign a few of my guardsmen to inspect this. You mentioned a request?
Yes. We've had a run-in with some people who we believe to be involved with these robberies. I would ask you to, if it does not interfere with your duties, to join us at the city morgue. We've been given directions to discuss that altercation and also possibly to inspect the victim of circumstance.
Well, I do have to go and at least begin the paperwork for this scenario, so I shall be there in, say, 2 hours. Would that be acceptable?
I don't suppose you could hurry? Not sure what Not sure what we'll be doing.
Make a persuasion check.
Right. I'm also not too bad at those, but 15.
15. Okay. So he kind of says, well, I shall do my best. Tell you what, expect 2 hours. But hopefully I shall be there much sooner.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
Yes.
What is it? You know how sometimes Simeon would have his butler give us the money after we would do the quests because, like, they were really close? Do you have someone that you could send with us that could report directly to you about it? Just in case paperwork
That's
takes
also
too
a
long?
possibility.
I suppose so. Lewis, and one of the guards turns around. He's this fairly short-looking individual in this ill-fitting armor. Looks over and says, "Yeah," and he's like, "I need you to escort these individuals to the town morgue and report any findings that they provide you with directly to me. Is that understood?" And Lewis says, "Okay," and just kind of like totters over to you guys and says, "Right, when are we going then?"
Now?
Now.
Now.
Now is good. Now is good.
That was good.
And the guard captain gives a nod and says, "I shall hopefully speak to you again soon."
I believe we'll be in the city for a while, so I'm sure we'll see each other again.
That is good to know. And he then proceeds to return to his duties here as you guys head off towards the town morgue. The morgue.
I didn't know it was the Halloween episode already.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Considering you do this once every 2 weeks, we have to start the build up for it.
Yeah. Oh man. But yes, as you head through town, everyone seems to be going about their business as usual. But eventually, with the help of Lewis, you manage to find your way to the town morgue, which, as described from before, appears to be this somewhat run-down brick building with a couple of the shingles from the roof missing. But otherwise it is a sizable affair with multiple floors. And it just kind of sits ominously in this little block of what appears to be residential homes. And swinging from a rusty sign appears to be Dr. Lucian's Medical Center and Morgue.
When we're there, I'd probably just go in and ask for if there's possibly a slab free.
You enter into the building, and as you enter, it seems strangely darker than what you were expecting. The windows don't appear to be obscured in any fashion, but as you kind of just wander in, everything feels a bit colder and darker. You see that there is a front desk, but no one's sat there. And a door behind the desk leading off into down a darker corridor is wide open.
Hello? Anyone here?
Hello?
Ah, yes. Hello, looking for the mortician?
Like peering around the door, first you see like a set of fingers kind of do that weird sort of one finger at a time on each hand as it goes, and then pulling to the side, you see this. You see what appears to be this green scaly face with a pair of tiny spectacles on what would be the impression of a nose, as his Rivazora kind of looks at you with what seems to be a raised brow and says, I am the mortician, Dr.
Ah,
Lucian. And he kind of like in a very exaggerated fashion, like steps out to the side and like puts his hands behind his back. He's a very tall, slim individual with this kind of grubby-looking white lab coat, like this heavy sort of leather coat that wraps around him entirely. And he has a pair of dark brown gauntlets that seem too big for his hands, or the braces rather that seem too big for his hands or wrists, kind of just on the ends of his sleeves. And he looks over and like inspects you as if he's like looking down his nose at you. And says, "You wished for my services?"
yes. And I look over at Max. We are working with the town guard to inspect some of these strange occurrences of robberies, but also these mists that have been popping up. And last night we ran afoul of some people who seem to be using the mist as a cloak to carry out rather more nefarious deeds. And we were hoping that you could help us with our investigation.
Yeah, he doesn't answer you immediately, but he kind of looks over each of you in turn, as if taking measurements, before his eyes eventually rest on the guard in the familiar uniform, and he says, "Ah, yes, please follow me." And he kind of like gestures a hand to the doorway behind him, and then seemingly kind of glides out of the room, though after a bit you can see that he is moving his feet. But the fact that he doesn't bob up and down like a normal person would imperceptibly as he walks is unnerving.
Fucking Fishman Dracula.
Constance and Sheikah to Renji. I thought you had a thing for theatrics.
Who says I have a thing for theatrics?
I said I thought.
Ah. See. No, you're right. I do.
Follow the guy, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
So as he leads you down this corridor to a set of stairs that head down, he begins to go on and says, "Ah, yes, the incident of the mists over Sarkosa. Yes, I am fully aware of incidences in this instance. A rather bloody affair, if I do say so myself. Unfortunate for the people I had to examine when they were brought into my care. Cut up with this acidic compound to boot. Couldn't have been pleasant. Far from it." And as he gets to the bottom, he opens
Max,
up.
do you wanna take off the bag so we could start trying to get it out? It was pretty bad to get in there anyway.
Yeah.
As he gets you guys to the bottom of the stairs, he pushes open these big double doors, and inside you see like three stone blocks, one of which appears to have like a something kept under a white sheet. And as he kind of leads you in, he says, yes, there was one of them, perhaps, that was a little unfortunate. Had a slice across their carotid artery. They couldn't have spent too long passing away. And he pauses as he looks around to see that you're currently in his morgue and says, "All of you are still alive, so why are you here to inspect this individual?" And he gestures to the person under the cloth behind him. He says, "I wouldn't imagine so. Poor soul passed away from a chronic disease."
We managed to kill one of the criminals, and we didn't want to just leave the body on the street because one of the others might have come back for it, so it's in a magic bag.
Oh, well then please put it on the slab. Let's have a look at this one.
So,
Get the bloody out.
for flavor purposes, I like to imagine that like Hikan's shoulders deep into the haversack while like Max is holding on to the bottom. So like Hikan's just trying to pull the dead body straight out.
So you kind of just eventually you get this body out, and Lewis is like, I don't get paid enough for this.
Neither do we.
I give him a gold piece.
Oh, gladly takes the gold piece, or like he cautiously palms it, but then he doesn't take his eyes off what happens. As you kind of slide the corpse onto the slab, Dr. Lucian looks over it and says, River Zora, interesting. Rather emaciated chap for someone of his height. And, like, without taking his eyes off the body, like, reaches over the practice motion to pick up a rather unpleasant-looking implement off a nearby tray and, like, raises it to eye level and says, yes, okay, very well. Now, tell me, you said that you encountered this one in the midst of last night's shenanigans.
Correct.
And
They and others.
Yeah, this got away.
Very interesting. And it's like, as he's like talking to you, he's just casually removing the clothing of this corpse, and like make sure that each of everything is like in the appropriate places so that you can properly do an examination. And as he raises the implement once again, he looks down and says, interesting tattoos, I must admit. Not many Zora do
Yes,
this.
we've noticed. Yes. You said not many, but some?
Yeah, well, yes. The allure of tattoos is a universal thing. I've seen Deku scrubs beforehand basically chisel patterns into their woody flesh, but in most cases, not many Zoras take to it, probably because, or at least many Zoras take to these kinds of tattoos. It seems like a rather crude sort of surgical precision. You can, if you look closely, and he like uses the sharpened implement to kind of indicate along the rubbery sort of scaly skin. It's like, as you can see here, you can see the indents from some of the scarring where they've used to implement the ink for this tattoo. A traditional tattoo on Zora flesh is incredibly uncomfortable, I've been led to believe. Most Zora tend to go for something of a applied dye that is a little more pleasant to utilize, though it does not always stick around.
Right. We were under the impression that this kind of tattoo was used to imbue the wearer of it with certain magical effects.
Oh. Well, it would be applied as any other kind of tattoo in the same fashion, but I imagine if it is magic, then perhaps it was applied in such a fashion that these symbols would generate some form of magical effect. And he kind of like, at that point in time, is like using the implement to kind of mentally mark down where he needs to make incisions and stuff. And he says, at least that's what I would think. Although I would assume that if you already knew that, you wouldn't be coming to me for an immediate answer. What is it that you would like to know about our subject today?
Well, we were, at least I personally was most interested to know if you've seen this type of tattoo on anyone else. And also if you've had other, I don't mean to point fingers, but if there have been any other Zora from the last few days, weeks, have come up dead or injured, perhaps.
I know
Also,
you
we
said
couldn't
that you
exactly
don't want to point fingers, but the implications of that last statement are something that you would probably want to word better in the future, my dear friend. In the meantime, though, to answer your question, I haven't had anyone else come into these halls with similar tattoos. I've had plenty of sailors die who had adorned their bodies with various tattoos, but none of them have exhibited magical powers, so to speak. Well, there was that one chap, but I think he was a tried and true magical wizard. He found himself a book in one of his travels and decided to test it out when he had gotten his port leave. Poor soul managed to teleport half of himself through a wall, and, well, the cleanup was not exactly the most pleasant thing in the world.
I can imagine.
As for river Zora, or Zora of any kind that have come through, I did have to see one Zora a few days ago, in fact. They were accompanied by a Goron and a Hylian. The chap was apparently experiencing something of a sore throat. I gave him some herbal medicines and told him to keep going with them for the next few days, and if he was having trouble with them, then perhaps seek a priest or perhaps come back to me for further examination. Since I haven't seen him, perhaps he's better now.
Fair enough. I only meant for the previous, comment that we aren't entirely certain if the crew that this Zora was part of is strictly Zoran, though they do seem to have some sort of marine theme, where they were wearing specific squid masks.
Oh.
Does that ring a bell?
No, sadly, but it is an interesting factoid. Perhaps if someone was to be dragged in here with similar adornments, I might be able to provide you with some information. As in, I would tell you that I have seen them, because at this point in time I haven't seen any others.
Alright, that kind of, that's definitely, I want to insight.
You want to incite it?
Yes. Who's going to help me? No. Insight.
Can help you by
7.
also rolling. And by also rolling, I mean failing.
Ah!
So, with a 7 and a 6, and
No!
an 8...
His
Hey,
believable.
Hikan, do you want to get a 9 or a 5?
Mara.
I can't get 5. I mean, alright, I'll join in on it, but Hikan's like, Hikan found that amusing, because I found that amusing. No, I'll get a 19.
Okay.
Damn it.
25.
25. Okay, so with the 6, 7, and 8, like you just see.
I don't fucking know.
Yeah, it like it's. You kind of find yourself kind of off put by like his demeanor and the environment with which you are currently standing in.
Oh, Max has been like basically inching backwards for this entire conversation.
Yeah. Hikan, it does seem like an honest flub. Like he would say, like it's possible that he might have realized the implication behind the first sentence might have said that he has seen others, but then he seemingly corrected himself, saying, "Well, I'll let you know if I do see them, because I haven't seen any others at this point."
And I reach into Max's haversack and grab the mask and but what about like scary creatures or things like that? Because I know that some places would sit there and dress up as like scary things for it. This is the mess that was happened, and like we're near a lot of water, so I was wondering if there were like Zora stories about like scary squid monsters like this. And I show him the mask.
Well, when this mess started, I was acutely aware that others were mentioning these sorts of things. I've had a couple of patients come in and mention these strange figures in the mists. Assumedly it was something of a hallucination or hysteria, so I prescribed them with some calming sedatives and sent them on their way, but it is a remarkable epidemic if everyone in town is agreeing with the sentiment. So, scary monsters. They've been statements about them have been on the rise as of late. In regards to anything else, well, I haven't been given any concrete evidence.
Okay, thank you.
And as he says, well, do you have any other questions for me?
Not personally.
I don't, but we did let the mayor know that we were coming here
Ah,
for, well, not exactly this, but yeah, because it's probably, my friend said it would probably be a bad idea to put the body on her table.
oh, undoubtedly. It would be a rather shocking. Like, he's staring at you as he says this, it would be a rather shocking affair. As in his hand, he expertly turns the knife down and stabs it through the corpse's sternum and begins to just drag.
Max is outside now.
Let's see. Constitution saving throw.
Yes, please. That's
Well-
that one.
Bye,
Yeah,
Renji.
I think Renji is
Join me outside.
growing up.
You just, like, you managed to keep your composure long enough to kind of just turn and leave before you find an appropriate place to do it. As you kind of leave, like, Dr. Lucian just kind of says, be careful, if you're going to do that, please find a corner, it's easier to clean up. And just kind of keeps going. As the two of you have exited the room, you see at the top of the stairs is Mayor Turnia, who kind of just, like, looks down and then...
I prestidigitate the shit out of it. Oh, wait. Yep.
She kind of, like, looks...
What vomit? I don't know what you're talking about.
Ugh.
As she kind of, like, looks down, just, like, rolls her eyes and says, he's doing it again, isn't he?
I don't know what you mean, but yes.
Okay. She moves down the stairs and peers inside. What? Sorry, I interrupted you, Ziden. What were you saying?
I said, no real constitution check for Ziden, because, I mean, he already bites people, so...
You already, but I assume as
Yeah.
a druid, he's probably done his fair share of preparing animals for either ritualistic purposes or just for dinner. Like, there is an instance of, like, you've probably done the whole business of preparing a live chicken to be turned into food at some point in your life. So you've probably been hardened by that.
Okay,
For
I'll
Max,
fix that.
for Max, it's less about like the actual corpses and everything, and more the guy's demeanor.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll fix it. Ziden did it for ritualistic purposes. Hikan did it for dinner. Okay, there we go.
All right. Yeah. As Mayor Turnia kind of comes down the stairs and peers inside and says, Dr. Lucian, are you absolutely sure you need to scare people like this? And Dr. Lucian just kind of looks up, still not stopping whatever he's doing with his hands, as he looks over and says, oh, my dear Mayor, it's as much as it would be rude to ignore people, it is also inefficient for me to not do my job while I am here. as he breaks open the ribcage, and Mayor Turnia just kind of just heaves a sigh. It's quite clear that she's probably been in this situation before, and says, well, If I immediately just turns to you guys and says, "So, what is it exactly that I am here for?"
That was a guy that attacked us in the mist.
You don't
Yes, we
say.
were.
I think
We
he's still wearing his
heard,
clothes.
Yes. We heard a bit of commotion last night. Me and Hikan and eventually, well, everyone, we went out to investigate. We were assaulted. And
Would you like us to
we
discuss this in the
tried to-
waiting room upstairs? You seem a bit pale.
I think I'm fine. But if
Yeah,
we
wait,
can,
probably
that
back
would
on
be a
stage.
good idea.
Then okay, let us go. She guides you guys back, or follows you guys back upstairs. As you sit down, Mara just doesn't seem immediately sort of unnerved by the experience, so she seems a lot quieter than what she usually is. As you head back up and find some of the comfy seats, sits down, the mayor kind of just sits, props her walking stick to one side and says, "Of things I was expecting to be in the mist doing these horrible things, I wasn't expecting it to be a person. I was led to believe it was some kind of monster, and yet you say that that individual down there was responsible?"
I don't personally think that person was wholly responsible, singularly. They seem to have
There were
companions.
definitely 2 others with them
Yes.
that ran off.
And I'm not certain if they were the cause of the mist or whether or not they're just opportunistic.
Ah. Fair enough.
They were wearing these masks. Show the mask.
And they were also the one tattoo on the Zora was the sign of the North Star, correct?
Yes.
And Hikan has the knife.
Yes.
Hikan, could you show me show the knife, please?
I hand it to Renji hilt first.
I show the hilt of the knife to Mayotonia. They were also tattooed with this symbol. We've noticed this particular symbol in our earlier adventures.
Also, the tattoos let them teleport through mist and stuff.
Yes, that too.
Let's see. I think I remember you mentioning that or showing that particular dagger to me before. You mentioned as well that something happened in regards to an individual at Lon Lon Ranch?
Yes. And possibly with a wizrobe that we've encountered previously.
That is quite a hefty operation. Most bandits, at least I would assume this would be banditry, wouldn't have territories that would expand that far and be this organized and be capable of generating that much power. It's rare to have at least one magic user within a whole tribe of bandits, so to speak. And yet, you have something that is spanning practically the entire kingdom, and capable of quite a lot of magical feats.
Correct. Also, DM, the knife was specifically from one of the assassins.
Yeah.
Trying to hit the royal family. Right. Well, they're not entirely Well, they do have their magical skills, but also they seem to set their targets very high. This knife was attempted to be used in an assassination to kill one of the royal family.
Very well. That is a lot larger than I was expecting. Especially for something like this. What other leads do you have?
Well, the ships seem to be targets for robberies, and we're not entirely certain the specific motives behind it, but they do seem...
We know they want magic stuff.
Yeah. Magic items do seem to be the target.
Seems to make
We also noticed that, yes, we're not entirely certain about the means of entrance. The ships are, well, broken into with possibly a large impact or magical means, though we've not figured out the specifics on that.
Very well.
Something that went from last night's attack on the ships went towards the same area that the people went that attacked us last night. And we've got a means of magic to find things.
Okay.
And all the people were wearing the masks.
Also, before the scream last night, I heard some singing
Singing.
in Zoran.
That has come up a couple of times, but
I try and recall exactly what...
Well, I've still got it written down, but
You've got it written down, yeah, so I'll translate.
It's in Draconic, so I don't know if you can translate it.
You can
I'll just
read it to
out.
me, and I'll translate it, then
I assume the mayor knows Zoran.
Yeah.
So she can probably translate it herself.
Fair enough, yeah.
So I just phonetically read it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she...
My accent is terrible.
She also says, I have had a couple of small reports to say that they've heard singing before, mostly towards the port area of town. But those have been rare, at least by comparison. The present danger that lives within the mist, as well as the thieves or the stealing from the ships, seems to be almost daily, while this singing seems to be incredibly rare. Though it is always a female voice. And as you say, it is in Zoran. Same song, too.
I don't know if it means anything and not good with that sort of stuff.
Is it a common song?
Almost. We have had instances where certain singers that come from Zora's domain will sing it. Oftentimes romantic songs are a favorite. And it fits rather well in Port Zokoza, for it means that sailors who would go out to sea would then feel like they are being missed as they leave. Whether or not that's true is an entirely different matter, but it is essentially a song that is predominantly about someone who is back home lamenting that their lover has left home for whatever reason, and eagerly anticipates their return. It is rather sad and somber, but otherwise is born from a loving place. At least that's what I believe it to be. the last person who sang that in person was a Zora woman who seemed to have been accompanied by another Zora and a Hylian and a Goron. They were performing in the street briefly, and then, well, we haven't seen them in a while, so my assumption is that they probably have moved on. They did seem like the traveling musical troupe.
I think we ran into those in Castletown.
It's part of it, yes.
Except the girl was missing.
Oh, how tragic.
Most likely.
Well, as you say, you have a plan of action in certain cases. You seem to have, as you say, magical means of tracking things down. You have uncovered quite a substantial amount of information, so to speak. Are you? She turns to the guard and says, "Are you getting all of this down?" And Lewis just kind of like nods as he has been writing everything down on a notepad. And says, and Maitani says, well, other than that, do you have any other forms of investigation that you would like to carry out? Any other plans?
I think it would be best to discuss that and continue with our investigation. But so far, not entirely. We've investigated what, at least I've done what I set out to do in this morning, and I think we need to figure out what our next steps are.
Well, if I was to make a brief suggestion, perhaps it would be a good idea at a certain time, or at a relatively convenient time, for you to possibly speak with some of the trading company heads. After all, it is their ships that are mostly hit, so perhaps they might have a little bit of additional insight. I don't know if you've spoken to any of the crews on those ships, or if you've investigated that area.
Well, we've discussed things with the crew on the Fairwind ship, but so far that is all. But yes, speaking with the heads of the companies is a very good idea.
Very well. And she kind of picks up a walking stick and pushes herself off her seat and says, if that is the case, then I shall not get in your way any further. I will return home, and if you, of course, need me at all, feel free to come by and visit. We shall discuss matters further. And thank you again for what you are currently doing. I do hope that we manage to get to the bottom of this very soon. And she gives a nod to all of you. Says, have a good day. And she walks
You too.
out the medical center and leaves you in the waiting room. Just with your tag-along town guard, Lewis. And while we haven't been going for terribly long today, it is getting rather late, so I shall say on that note we shall leave it there and continue on next session. So in the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching or listening. I have been ArticulateT, the GM, and with me today I have had Renji Vox being played by TheNetherlad.
Bye-bye.
I have had Hikan Sio being played by Alvarance.
Bye.
I have had Ziden Shari being played by Robopirate.
Farewell.
And I have had Max being played by Keystrith.
Renji came so close to inventing racial profiling. Also, bye.
Bye. That sobering note. We'll see you guys next time. Take care. Bye-bye.